We're live, I think, guys. Welcome to the Solo Club live stream. Happy Friday. It's Friday everywhere, hopefully, wherever you're watching this. If it's not Friday, if you're watching this in the future, thank you for tuning in. And absolutely thank you for tuning in if you're watching this live, because it means the world. People are starting to come in now, which is always nice. It's been an utterly crazy week in Mark Ellis Review's Towers. It's not towers, but it's, you get the point, the HQ, whatever you want to call it. Lots and lots of video production this week, some traveling as well to London and doing various other things. So it's been a bit of a crazy week, but it's all good stuff. Couple of bits of housekeeping as always. I'm not looking at the comment section while I'm talking now because I don't want to be distracted, because I'm easily put off. But the whole point of these live streams really is to get your questions. So have a think. If you've come armed with questions already, fantastic. But if they start to arise while I start talking, stick them in the chat window, please. And ask me anything. Literally any question you've got, just ask me. Don't be afraid. That is where these live streams come alive. I always say that, and I genuinely mean it. And it's where the best pieces of content come. And it's where you get the most out of me, I think, really, because I'm sure if you're thinking about getting into this content creation game and starting your own YouTube channel or starting your own blog or whatever it is you might be thinking of doing, you will have questions, and I will do my best to answer them as much as I can. So hit me with them, basically. I've just realized I haven't put my filming focus mode on. Let me do that so we don't get any interruptions. Done. And the other bit of housekeeping is, if you haven't signed up to the Solo Club Substack newsletter yet, please do give it a go. It's completely free. You can unsubscribe whenever you want. That is basically a written version of this live stream. So every Friday morning, I send out a traditional newsletter, which I sit and type early on that Friday morning. And it's a bit of a sort of a monologue normally, a bit of again, an insight into this business on a specific topic. And people seem to like it. So check it out. Like I say, completely free of charge, and you can unsubscribe at any time. There'll be no hard feelings whatsoever. Equally, if you sign up to the Substack newsletter list, you will get to find out about my brand new academy, which I promise is on the way. It's getting very exciting now, to the point where I can finally reveal the new name, which is the Solo Club. Sorry, let's start again. I got that wrong. Solo, brilliant. It is Friday, to be fair, and it has been a long week. It's Solo Club, I might just go home. It's been that long this week. I might just stop and go home and get someone else to do this. The new academy is called Solo Club, the Creator Academy. And we got there eventually. And this is going to be a nuts and bolts look at the business of creating a creator business like this. How many times can you say the word creator? And I'm going to literally open the hood, open up the bonnet, and show you everything from planning to the financial side of things, to the content creation, to the publication, to the dealing with comments and trolls and dealing with sponsorships, everything, writing, filming, editing, the whole shebang. It's going to be a drip-fed course. So every couple of weeks, I think, is what the cadence will be. You'll be getting a new lesson. That sounds really school-like, but excuse the trucks going past. That does sound very school-like, but they are lessons. It's part of a curriculum that we're putting together. But you'll get that delivered every couple of weeks. But equally, you'll also have the chance every month to have a Q&A session with me. So you go through the material that I give you, lots of kind of handouts as well that you get, which are very exciting. And then you get a chance like this to join me live for a Q&A in behind closed doors. So it's very exciting. We're in the process of putting all this together at the moment. The website's pretty much ready now. And everything is being worked on behind the scenes. And very soon you'll be able to sign up to the academy, which is going to take place later this year / the start of January. So we're working on the date at the moment, but it's all very exciting. But if you sign up to the Solo Club Substack newsletter, you will hear about it first. So jump on. Right, loads of housekeeping done. Quick drink of water. Welcome on board, everyone who's coming on. I think, as I always say, I'm not looking at the comments or the chat window at the moment, because I want to dive into that after my spiel in a moment. So, but like I say, fill the comment. I don't think there's any comments in there at the minute. So please fill that chat window with questions, either questions you've got on your mind at the moment, or things that come up as I go through today's topic. Right, very dry throat as always. Today's topic is really exciting, actually. It's something which it's exciting, equal parts exciting and nerve-wracking, because it's something that I've done with this business, which has taken me a long time to get here and has taken some fairly, I've had to put on my big boy pants and make quite a big decision. And I'm so glad I did, even though I've waited too long to do it. And it's all about hiring. It's about hiring someone who has become my right-hand man. And I talked about this, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, no longer than that, probably a month or so ago, that I was looking to get someone in as my right-hand person. And I needed, I basically needed another me, but someone who wasn't doing this stuff, someone who's doing all the stuff behind the scenes that I was doing, that was taking me away really from focusing fully on two things: content creation and the strategy. Keeping an eye on what's going on with the business and growing it. That's the key thing. So the reason this was such a big decision for me, and anyone who's run their own business watching this will know how this feels, is that when you start a business, it's just you. Unless you start and you've got a big team already, well, that's quite rare. But if you do start with 2 or 3 of you, that it's a bit different. But if it's just you, if you are a solopreneur, which is what Solo Club is all about, you'll know that it very, very quickly becomes one of the most important things in your life. It's not as important as your kids or your significant other, obviously, or the rest of your family, or all those people, or your friends, etc. But it comes very close. It comes really close. This business for me, it's one of my babies. I've got several babies. I've got a real baby, a car, a dog, and this. And this is this is a very important one. And because of that, the idea of anything bad happening to it, whether it be a loss of audience, inadvertent loss of audience, a significant dip in revenue, anything that could potentially harm the future of this business or bring the entire thing crashing down, is incredibly frightening. So the thought of making changes or significant changes or bringing people in to this baby of mine is very frightening. As it turns out, I needn't have worried. And the reason for that is because the person that I brought in for the last 3 weeks now, I think we're 3 weeks in, he's completely changed everything for me. So he has completely, basically, it has worked in the way I hoped it had worked. So once I got over that hump of worrying about handing the reins over to someone else on certain things, it's just been brilliant. The guy's name is Niall. You may one day see him. I don't know. Perhaps you'll see him on a live stream, or if I can convince him to do that, you might see him on the Marcos Reviews channel at some stage. I don't know. That isn't his role, though. His role is very much behind the scenes. But yeah, his name's Niall. He is my general manager. That is the technical term for his position here. And to give you an idea of what he's doing, it's very varied. And I made it very clear when I was putting the feelers out for someone to join me that there was a job description, but it was very vague. It was very much, here's a whole bunch of what looked like disparate tasks. I want you to do these, and they'll all be thrown at you in different stages and randomly and ad hoc and off the cuff, etc. And I did that purposefully because I wanted to find people who could put up with that. And Niall is one of those people who is very much up for that kind of thing. He doesn't mind being thrown straight into the frying pan in the nicest possible way and given very different tasks completely randomly here and there. He deals with that very well. I've learned that very quickly. And that is the sort of person that I needed. I didn't want someone who needed to be have their hand held for long periods of time. I absolutely did not want to micromanage someone, even though there is some micromanaging to begin with. Obviously, that's just natural. I wanted someone who was independent enough to take these things and who had something about them where they'd understand that they had enough autonomy to take those tasks, about which I'm very, they mean a lot to me, these tasks, but equally I'm not precious about them. I'm fully aware that having built all of these tasks and processes and procedures myself, they may not be fantastic. They may have holes in them. So I needed someone who could take that on board. And so far, and this will continue, I'm sure, he has been absolutely amazing. So if you're watching this now, thank you. You've already made a massive difference. But in terms of what the basics, not the basics, the essence of his role is that the things that he is tasked with relate to getting content out, basically. And that content could be videos, it could be the live stream, it could be, social media content, blogs, etc. But he's an intrinsic part now of that process, of that production process behind the scenes. So if he doesn't do something, or if something goes wrong, it could result in content not going out. And that is why, or it could result in content going out and being incorrect or having problems with it. That is why this role is so important, and why I needed that kind of person. And equally, why I was so scared to bring someone in, because all of that stuff was down to me originally. It was all my responsibility. So it's things like dealing with the rest of the team. So I do have a smaller, a wider team who do lots of different things, like publishing, blog publishing, social media publishing, and lots of other kind of process-driven stuff. And Niall now sits between me and those guys. So I don't get in the way. I don't become the roadblock, but he manages the process, for example, of having a YouTube video turned into short form content for TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, etc. I was doing that originally. He's now the person who deals with all that process. He's also dealing with sponsors and the partners that we work with for videos on Markerless Reviews. So if we have a sponsored video, again, I'll go into this at some stage, and in the academy we'll go into this in real detail. But there's an awful, as you can probably guess, there's an awful lot of toing and froing. So you kind of you speak to the sponsor to begin with. You establish a relationship, you work on a rate, on deliverables, KPIs if you need to, all that sort of stuff. And that goes backwards and forwards. You get a contract signed, and then you get the product, you get all the details about the product that you've got to get right. You then have to review the product, you have to edit the video. There's a lot of work involved. And again, I was doing all of that stuff, all that backwards and forwards stuff, which means you're taken away from making the content and just having your head, as they say, above the clouds rather than beneath them. Because when your head's above the clouds as the business owner and as the person who has to make things happen and make it grow, you just can't see the wood for the trees, because you get what I'm saying. So he deals with all of that stuff, and he's building relationships now with the partners of this business. I'm still involved with them. I'm still very much visible to those people, but he becomes the conduit between me and them and the rest of the team. So that has been, on its own, that's been a huge thing. The other thing is that Niall is a very, very good video editor. He's already edited one particular short, which was the BYD short form video. It went onto Instagram and TikTok. I don't think we put it onto YouTube, but he did a brilliant job of that. And that was a great thing, where I went out onto this kind of away day thing with a car company, shot a load of footage, and normally I'd be racing to get all that footage edited into a short form thing for Instagram. This time I just gave it to Niall and said, can you put together a nice little short? He did it, and it was just fantastic, and I didn't have to worry about it. And he published it, did it amazing. So the fact that he is a very good video editor and a graphics editor as well, motion graphics, is a bonus. That isn't his role really, but it's a bonus to have that on hand as well if I need to. So there's three big benefits to this. If you're in this position where you're thinking, I need to expand, I need to build a team, even if it's just me and one other person to begin with. If you're wondering what those benefits are of doing that, because they're not obvious to begin with, but then they become blindingly obvious when you actually do it. The first one is that you no longer have to do those things yourself. You no longer have to do everything. So in my business in the past, I've done everything from the bookkeeping to the editing, to the writing, to the presenting, to the sales, the marketing, the website updates. I've done all this stuff, and you can't be a master at all of that. And equally, if you're doing all those things, you don't have any room for anything else. And also, you can only get to a certain point of growth because you're only one person. So the fact that you bring someone in to do at least one of those tasks, or a bunch of those tasks, as in Niall's case, it basically means you don't have to do it yourself, and that means you can apply that time elsewhere. And that's the second thing, really. It does free up your time, which inevitably you will fill completely immediately. The next day. I have found that is the case, but equally I'm filling it with other stuff. I'm filling it with things which do go towards the growth and the future of this business. But it frees up so much more time than you would imagine. I think when I started putting together the procedures and the processes that I've been doing myself and started handing them over to Niall, it became very clear how much stuff is going on behind the scenes and how much stuff I was getting lost in. And the time taken to do these things is just Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I appreciate I'm kind of glossing over a little bit on what Niall is doing. So if you've got any questions on this, again, stick them in the chat window and we'll go through them after I've stopped rambling on. I have got some notes. I've had to work from notes on this, guys, because there's just so much happening at the moment. The third, and I think actually one of the most important benefits of bringing someone else in at this level is that it's another set of eyes on the things that you're doing. And I kind of alluded to this earlier with the, getting their eyes on the procedures and the processes. Because again, you've made them for yourself, and they're probably not very good in terms of giving them to someone else. So you get someone else's eyes on those things. They can tell you if what you're doing is, too long-winded, or if you're missing certain steps, or at step 36, if they're reading it and thinking, why are there 56 steps? Yeah, they can tell you that. And you can you can make these things more efficient. Equally, it's another set of eyes on the stuff that you're creating. And I've not really had that before. I've had it with my girlfriend. She watches things and she gives me some feedback occasionally. But in fairness to her, this isn't her. It's not literally her business. It's not her job. It's also not her area of expertise either. She's not a content creator. So having someone like Niall, who has a very deep interest in this stuff and has been working in this kind of industry for quite a while now, it's great to have someone else to bounce those ideas off. I hate that phrase, sorry, but to have someone to give you some feedback on. We've talked about thumbnail product. He's doing that for me, for example. He's working with the thumbnail designer to do those. But yeah, we've talked about the design of thumbnails, title strategies. I've got him to look into the reason that other videos in my niche are performing better than mine, so we can try and work out what they're doing right and I'm not doing quite as well. And it's just honestly, you can probably tell it's game changing, as I always say, just to have this other set of eyes on things, and that has immediately made a massive difference. So I think I waited too long to do this, but equally that is hindsight. And I think we always say this kind of thing. It's like when you leave your job to do your own thing. I left my job not late, but I waited way too long to leave my original job to go solo. But I think most people say that. And I think it's the same thing when you have your first significant hire. I'm not belittling the rest of my team at all, but those guys are doing much kind of smaller ad hoc jobs. Whereas Niall, I have more of Niall's time, basically. He's doing things which are absolutely business critical. But yeah, I think it's very common for people who are hiring people for the first time in significant roles to think, I should have done this before now. But the only reason you think that is because when you do it, you realize why you should have done it before, because it's so beneficial. Unless you pick the wrong person, which can happen. You get bad hiring, and I've done that before in the past. I've picked the wrong people, but you live and learn from that. And in this instance, I haven't picked the wrong person. I've picked the right person by a country mile. Now, I've noted down 4 reasons. Let me have another drink very quickly. Welcome on board to the new people that have jumped in. Again, I'm not looking at the comments or the chat at the moment, but do please put as many questions in there as you like. Nice to see a good number of people here on a Friday. But yeah, there's 4 catalysts for me, really, for finally deciding to bring in a general manager. The first one is because of the growth of this business. My audience and revenue has grown quicker than I ever thought it would. Still surprises me how quick it has grown. But equally, doing everything myself, I've hit a ceiling in terms of how much further I can grow it, or how quickly I can grow it to the point I want it to get eventually. So bringing someone else in, freeing up my time, giving me that headspace to think about growth and think about the wider picture, as they say, and as I've just mentioned, get that feedback from him, is going to go towards growing the business and growing the revenue. So growing the audience and growing the amount of money coming into the bank account. Both of those things are going to pick up now. I have no doubt about that. The other catalyst is working with Niall to get more brand partnerships and sponsorships. And the Marketers Reviews channel has some amazing brand partners. Again, I can't believe some of the names I get to work with in terms of brands. It's incredible. And that has come from a lot of hard work on my behalf in terms of becoming recognized and hopefully worthy of working with. But equally, I can only go so far with that. And I'm very conscious there's a lot of brand and sponsorship opportunities that I've probably missed, or that I just haven't had time to work on or find, or I may even have missed in the email inbox, which is a frightening thought, but it's highly probable. So that is another catalyst for it. Having someone else to work on that with me is going to be it already is very beneficial. Um, the third reason is quite a serious one. It's burnout. And I'm fairly sure I've burnt myself out on two occasions in this business. Again, with hindsight, looking back, I think I can see where I burnt out. It wasn't catastrophic, and I wasn't kind of like lying in bed for days or anything. I know some people go through horrendous burnout periods and depression and all that sort of stuff. I haven't experienced that, but I've had a couple of health things that have really made me think about this. And just getting to the stage where you feel so tired and so worn out from working. And I know the difference between feeling worn out, where you're just this week, for instance, I'm very tired because it's just been a very crazy week, but I don't feel burnout tired. I just feel later tonight, I will just stop, have a beer and chill out. But that's good tiredness, I think. You shouldn't do it too often, but it's fine. But I have had, like I say, I think two occasions where I've hit rock bottom in terms of energy levels and the desire to carry on at that point, in terms of not that I'd give the business up, but I just literally hit a wall where you just think, I cannot be bothered to do. I can't physically do anything else. Mentally and physically, I'm done. That's happened twice, and I don't want that to happen again, because I'm a father now. I've got a girlfriend. I've got people who love me and who I love very much, and I've been around for long enough, and I've had enough things happen in my life as well, very big things, to know that you only live once, and bad things happen. And if you can be in control of at least one bad thing not happening, which is your health, then be in control of it. So that third catalyst is just absolutely massive. The fourth one is actually bigger than that, though, and it is the ultimate one, which is the family. It's my family, which I've just mentioned. So I'm a new dad, or do I still call myself a new dad? Possibly not. He's 15 months old now. But I've got a little boy now, and I hate not being there during the day. And working parents will know this. If you're the one that is, or if you're both at work during the day, and you've got kids who are with someone else, either with your partner or with childminder or whatever, and particularly when they don't understand where you go, because he's at a point in his life where I can't tell him that I'm going to work for this reason. One day I can explain that to him, but he's at the point now in his life where he doesn't understand that. So I hate not being there. So any way I can maximize the time that I have with him, even if it's just a few hours in the evening, a few hours in the morning, I'm going to do that. That is non-negotiable. I don't care about anything else about this business if it impacts that relationship with my son and my girlfriend, obviously. I always have to say that because I mean it, obviously. But yeah, parents watching this will know exactly what I'm talking about. So the family part of it is massive, and bringing my general manager in to take some of the burden off my shoulders means I can be a better family man, basically. Not that I was bad before, but I can just be a bit more present. Because even, again, if you've run a business yourself, or if you've got a very stressful job where it's always on your mind, you'll know that if you've got family and friends or people that you live with, you're not always that present, because you're always thinking about the business, and there might be a problem you think you're trying to work through, or it might just be that you're thinking about what you've got to do tomorrow, or what you did wrong yesterday, or whatever it is, and it just plays on your mind. And because it's playing on your mind during your very important personal time with your family and friends, you're not really present. And there's been several times, certainly over the last 3 years, where I should have been more present than I have been. So this is all getting very deep, isn't it? But this is what this is all about, really. So bringing in, like I say, my right hand man Niall, is the ultimate goal of that is to ensure that I can have a much better, and I hate this phrase as well, work-life balance. Because even if you hate that phrase, it's a very important one. So those are the four catalysts. And the good thing is it has worked so far. We're only 3 weeks, nearly 4 weeks in, and he has already made a massive difference to this business. So thank you, Niall, again, if you're watching this. The reason it's worked so far, the reason it's kind of very much kind of hit the ground running, again, it's for two reasons, I think. The first one is communication. I've worked in a lot of places where communication hasn't been fantastic, on my part as well, but certainly with people that I've worked with. And I know that communication is just, it is the most important thing. I think if you don't communicate properly with your colleagues, and your customers and your partners, etc. You haven't got hope in hell in terms of doing well, and things will go wrong. So, thankfully, I have found someone for this role who is a very good communicator, will ask questions, isn't afraid to challenge things or suggest new ideas. That is exactly what I wanted, and that works. And hopefully, I'm doing the same thing in terms of communicating properly. And the second thing is the processes. And I'm very, very boring. I'm very conscious of this. I'm very boring about processes and procedures. I say those two words a lot. And the reason I say them a lot is because in this business, more than any other business I've worked in, the process side of things, all the process behind the scenes for making videos, for writing blog posts, for publishing short form content, for tweeting, everything that goes out of the doors of this studio, the process behind it is utterly crucial. If that process breaks down or isn't efficient, then I wouldn't be here now. I wouldn't be stood in this room at all. So, as I mentioned earlier, passing those processes on to Niall has kind of revealed that I'm getting something right, but equally we can probably tighten a few things up. So that again, the process side of things is huge. The way that I'm doing this, if you're interested, what I used to do was I'd sit down, think about the process, go through it, and open a Word document, and do bullet points, step 1 to whatever. Write it all down, stick it into a Dropbox folder, give it to the person that's doing it. They'd read through it. Very boring, very long-winded. Not the best way of doing it at all. Instead, and I can't lay claim to inventing this because people have done this for a long time, and it was a friend of mine who said, why don't you just do this instead? Instead, what I do is film myself on screen share, sorry, not screen share, on a screen recording, doing the thing that I want to pass over, whether it be uploading a video to YouTube, talk through what I'm doing on the screen, and make it very clear that it doesn't have to be done this way. They can make changes to the process. Film that, put it into Dropbox, give that to Niall. He watches it, he makes notes, he builds his own process through that, his own checklist, and that's it. Simple as that. And because rather than writing things down, typing things out, I'm just like I am now, just doing a screen recording. I know what I'm doing, so I know it like the back of my hand. It's much quicker to do, much quicker to hand over. And again, because it's video, it's a bit more engaging, it's a bit more interesting. You can watch it again very easily if you want to. You can watch little sections of it if you need to revisit it. So that's just one quick tip. If you need to hand over processes to people, use video. Do it as a video rather than writing it down. It's much better for everyone. So you can probably tell actually, I'm more excited than ever about this business. I've always been excited about it, but I think because I've had my head in the weeds so much and kind of digging through the day-to-day stuff constantly and all this process stuff, it's been hard to get too excited about the future because you just can't see the wood for the trees. And I can, not quite yet. The trees are still there, the leaves and things I'm kind of fighting my way through them still, but it's starting to clear a bit. And I think within the next couple of months, it will really have cleared. So I'm very excited about that. It's good news. Welcome on board, everyone who's here. We've got a good number. Sorry, I got very, very dry throat. Let's dive into your questions, guys. I hope that was interesting. Looks like we've got the usual suspects here. Paul Rankin. Hello, Paul. Paul is a fellow YouTuber. I think you've been on before, Paul, but if you I'm fairly sure you've been on before, but guys, please go and check out his YouTube channel. Same thing with Michael's Tech Talk. Hi, Michael. Go and check out his YouTube channel. Alan, Kevin, Johan, everyone's here. Right, let's get some questions going. You can always count on Alan to ask a question, or several, hopefully. Please don't stop, Alan. You keep these things going. So, did you find out the name of the iPhone 15 Pro intro music you liked? If you didn't, it's called Rush. Right, let me make a note of that because I love that. So, this is very meta, but I appreciate this, Alan. So, anyone who wasn't listening, was it last week I was talking about this? I'm not sure when it was. I loved the intro music when they revealed the iPhone 15 Pro. Apple, this is they always do this on their product reveals. They do they use music from somewhere, some latest track from X artist, and they used something for the intro to this phone, and I loved it. It was right up my street, and you found it, Alan. So thank you very. I'm literally making a note of this. So it's Rush by, I won't even try, Celia, is that? I won't try and pronounce that, but there we go. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. Everyone who's watching this, me just type something into a note. Brilliant. Thank you. That's very useful. But no, in answer to your question, I had no idea. I'd forgotten about it, to be honest. Alan, as your business grows, is it becoming more enjoyable or less enjoyable? So I suppose that's kind of what I meant a moment ago. Because I do now have my right-hand man, and he is taking on more responsibility for things that I was doing myself, and that is kind of giving me a bit more time to think about this. It is becoming more enjoyable. It's been very stressful over the last 2 or 3 weeks. I think I spoke about the challenge that I had recently with a particular PR company. Again, I can't reveal who that was or what it was related to, but that has been rumbling on a little bit. It seems to have gone now, I think, but that's made things less enjoyable, but that is just one tiny thing, really. So although it's been very busy and stressful, that's purely down to the number of videos we've been making. There's been a huge number of videos over the last 3 weeks that have gone out, or very not in quantity, but the type of videos and the production involved. But I love it, Alan. I've always loved this. There's not a day that goes by where I don't spend at least, even if it's just 10 seconds, thinking about how lucky I am to be doing this for a living. The only thing with that is that equally that makes me think, when's it going to end? Because I'm not pessimistic at all, but I've always been like this in business. I think I've talked about this before, where even in my previous business, I always thought I'd wake up one day. I'd have this thought at least once a week, where I think I'd open my email inbox and I'd have emails from all of my customers, all my clients, saying, "Thanks, but no thanks, Mark. We've decided to move on." I'd lose all my contracts in one day. I still have that fear a little bit about this. I've had issues with Medium, as you possibly know recently. So Medium revenue has dropped considerably. There's the whole, invalid views thing on YouTube, which, touch wood, I haven't been hit with yet, but that's always hanging over our heads as well. So I'm always worried, even when I get excited about it, that things could come crashing down. It can't be, surely it can't be like this forever, But again, touch wood, it has been. So in answer to your question, Alan, as it grows, yeah, I do find it more enjoyable. I think the challenges get different. I think you put more pressure on yourself to get things right. And I think I've experienced that a bit. Again, I've talked about this in the past. I've experienced that a bit. And I still experience it at the moment with filming A-roll. So I've lost confidence a little bit in filming A-roll, which you probably, hopefully, don't see on the videos, but it's taking a lot of editing at the minute to get to get them to where I want to be. I'm working on that, but people who do this sort of stuff will know what I'm referring to. And I think I am attributing that to the growth of the business. I think some of the brands that I'm working with, the size of the audience for some of the videos, it probably plays on my mind a little bit more than I think. But it's a lovely problem to have because I've got a big audience, for me anyway. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense, Alan. Kevin obviously is in Lakeland, Florida still. One day I want him to say that he's calling in from Coventry or something, which will make me feel better. If you don't know what Coventry's like, Kevin, and if anyone here is from Coventry, I'm sorry, but I'm from Northampton. I trust me, that's terrible as well. Hello, Luke. Thanks for the shout out, Michael. No problem at all. Paul, what do you think of Epidemic's new monthly payments? Which YouTube music provider do you use? So I don't use Epidemic, so I don't know anything about their monthly payments. I don't know if you can perhaps let us know what that's all about, Paul. I'm assuming they've changed their pricing model, which is always a fun thing to happen, isn't it? And not an easy thing to do from their side, I'm sure. But yeah, tell us what it's all about, and I'll give you my completely unbiased opinion on that. I use, what do I use? I always forget. What do I use? My brain's gone. I've used it for ages. I used Artlist. So I use Artlist for music. So a good example of this is today's video, actually. So today's Mark Ellis Reviews video is all about the Apple Watch Ultra 2 versus the Apple Watch Ultra 1. It was all filmed on location in the Peak District during a hike. There's lots of drone footage and stuff. I'm really proud of this one, actually. If you haven't seen it yet, go and check it out. There's some what I think are very cinematic moments in it, particularly halfway through with some drone stuff. But the reason they're made cinematic is because of the music. And I use, like I say, artlist.io. If you go there, you'll find it. I'm not affiliated. Actually, I am affiliated with them. I'm saying that. I can't remember if there is. If there's a link in the description for Artlist, it is an affiliate link. I should say that, but I'm not saying that now because of that. It's come up in conversation. But so yeah, I use Artlist, which is brilliant. And with Artlist, you can basically search for any type of music. And what I love about it, you can do it by mood. So if you're editing a video where you want it to be dark and moody, you can pretty much put in dark and moody, and that's what you get. If you want it to be exciting, you can put the exciting filter on and get all this exciting music. And it's all completely royalty free. So you pay a monthly or an annual fee for access to those tracks and sound effects, loads of sound effects. I use a few of the sound effects in today's video. And you can just use that music wherever you want, within reason, obviously, and for as long as you want. You once you don't own it, but once you've got it, you've downloaded it, you can just keep using it. And because it's royalty free, there's no problems with content strikes or copyright claims. I've never had that issue ever. I've used quite a bit of Artlist music on the Market Reviews channel, and I've never had a problem. So it lives up to its name in terms of being royalty free. So yeah, Paul, what is going on with Epidemic? Because Epidemic is another music provider, free music provider, royalty free music provider. It was £10 a month, and now it's gone up to £15.98. Very specific number. I'm assuming that's something to do with exchange rates or something. Yeah, that's quite a big jump, isn't it? Yeah, £6 a month. Again, I don't know anything about Epidemic Sounds. I've never used it. I don't know. A lot of people do use it, I know, including some very big YouTubers. That's a tough one, isn't it? I can't remember what I pay for Artlist. Go and check it out. You don't have to use my link if it is there. Just go to Artlist and see what you think. And I would recommend it. It's very good. But yeah, £6 extra a month is quite a lot. There's going to be a reason for that. I'm sure they gave a reason for it. Increased costs there. Although they'll give the usual spiel about maintaining the level of whatever. It might. I guess what it might be, because these services they get their music from independent, I think mainly independent creators themselves, so people who make this music for them, and those people get paid a commission. So maybe they're deciding to pay their music producers more, the people that write the music. I don't know, possibly, but that is a big jump. It's a hefty old increase. Samrat, I hope I've got your name right there. Big fan, thank you very much. How did you manage your time effectively between full-time work and YouTube in the earlier days? So I don't know. So I started this business just over 3 years ago now. In fact, no, 3.5 years ago. And back then, for at least the first 2 years of it, I was basically still running my other business, which was an external marketing type thing, where I was providing marketing services for other businesses, whether that be consultancy or writing or video editing, all that sort of stuff. Everything I've put into this business, really. But I was doing that, and I had some pretty big contracts, actually. I was doing that alongside making Market Reviews videos. And now I quite often do this most weeks. I look back and think, how on earth was I doing that? Because thinking back, I wasn't really working any longer hours, maybe occasionally, but I was still working roughly the same hours. And I wasn't taking my foot off the gas on anything. And nothing was nothing towards the end, as you can get, towards the end of letting go of that old business, I was taking my foot off the gas a little bit, as is always the case. But for most of that time, I wasn't. The honest answer is I have no idea how I was doing it. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe I was treating things a little bit more, best way of putting this. I might have just been bashing things out a bit quicker, maybe. I think now the production is hopefully you can see is of a much higher quality. But I don't know. It's one of the, I think anyone, if you've ever done two things, if you've ever had a full-time job and a side hustle, as they call it, and then you go away from the full-time job and go fully into the side hustle as your main thing, I think most people would say they'd look back and think, I don't know how I did both. I don't know. I just did it. I think you just do it. I think if you've got a full-time job or another business and you want to do this kind of thing, you'll make it work. And we all make it work in different ways. But if you really want it, you will make it work. And you won't be able to describe to anyone how you've made it work. Appreciate the honesty. Well, that's why I'm here. Johan, I'm seeing a lot of DJI Mini 4 drones. I don't need a drone, but what drone are you using? Where is it? It's in the cupboard. I had the DJI Mini 3 Pro. So the one that you're referring to is the Mini 4 Pro. It's utterly brilliant. I think I've shown it before on this live stream. It's 249 grams, so it's tiny. That means it sits beneath the weight class where you have to have licenses and all sorts of things. You still have to be careful where you fly it, obviously, but you get a lot more options with it in terms of where you fly it. And the camera quality, again, if you watch today's video, the Apple Watch Ultra video on the Mark Ellis Reviews channel that went live earlier, all of the drone stuff is filmed on that Mini 3 Pro. So that is the kind of scenery type stuff. But also there's a couple of shots, 2 or 3 shots where there's a shot behind me. So you can see me walking through a forest. And the camera it's clearly not at ground level. It's clearly flying. It's very smooth, and it just the way that works is a thing called active track. So you fly the drone, and on the drone controller, you basically point the camera at you, and you draw around yourself on the screen, and then it recognizes and locks onto you as a target, and then you choose active track, go, hit record, and you just walk off, and the drone just follows you. So it stays roughly at the same level unless it encounters obstacles like trees and things that will go over them or beneath them. That's a bit scary. You do have to put all your trust in those sensors, but touch wood, it's never crashed. So yeah, there's a few shots where I'm walking through a forest, and like I say, the camera is clearly not on the ground or being held by anyone. That was the drone as well. That's a very good way to get a nice perspective. If you're on your own as well, it's a great way to not have to hire a camera person to do the other stuff for you. So yeah, the DJI Mini series are just brilliant. I don't know enough about the 4. I've not had time to look at it. I think from memory, I think there's a newer controller, although the controller that I've got is fantastic, to be honest. They're focused a bit more, I think, if you excuse the pun, on the performance for vertical video as well, because you can shoot vertically with it. And there's something else. I think it's got longer flying time, so I think it's got a better battery. But the 3 is great. I mean, the 3 will be a decent price now as well. So yeah, look into it. Samurai is going to prioritize the time accordingly. That's it. And like I say, I can't really tell you how to do that. We all do it in a different way. Alan, how close do you think the iPhone 15 Pro is to replacing professional equipment for the type of studio videos you make? Really good question. I've been thinking about this a lot today. The reason for that is I'm currently editing a video for this weekend, which I think will go live on Sunday, which is a comparison between the iPhone 15 Pro Max and, it's over there somewhere, the Samsung S23 Ultra from a camera perspective. So I go into the photography side of things, but also I dive into the video as well. And the entire video is shot on either this or the S23 Ultra. Now, this is in the field again. So I'm in London, walking around London, very busy streets. The video quality is good on both cameras, actually. The thing that has really surprised me, because the whole point of this video was to not fiddle with the audio or the video at all. It was to leave it and treat it as a point and shoot type demonstration, really. I didn't want to kind of edit it or color grade it or mess around with the audio. Everything has come out of it is just naturally out of both cameras. And what has really surprised me is the audio, which is terrible on both the S23 Ultra and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Partly because they're quite challenging conditions. So it wasn't really windy, but it was that kind of annoying wind that is just always there, blowing in your face and blowing into your camera mic. You need a dead cat, you need a muffler, whatever, a dead cat as we call them on the mic, which you can't really do on a phone, and that would be cheating as well. But yeah, there were challenging conditions, but I left the mic as it was. I didn't change it in terms of the settings, so it was recording in stereo. And if you listen to this video on headphones, you can hear my voice wavering occasionally between the left and right channels. So the reason I'm kind of telling you that, Alan, is because I still think they're a little way off. If you want to just get quick footage done, and if you're in a controlled environment like this, so if you're in a studio like this, then you can definitely get away with the video quality, no problem at all. Just use it, it's fine. No one cares. The audio, I still think it's a little way off. That is the one thing, you'll see this on Sunday when the video goes live. That is the one thing that I think needs serious improvement. I think we need much better mics. I think the iPhone has probably got the best mic that I've tested on the smartphones that I've used, but it's still not great. So in terms of video, yes, I think it can replace professional equipment if you're not too fussed about depth of field, although you can achieve that with portrait mode and all that sort of stuff. And I think now that you can record from the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max, can you do it with the Pro? You can definitely do it with the Pro Max out of the USB-C port into an SD card reader, sorry, an SD card or a external SSD drive, and you can do that in ProRes as well if you want to go to those depths. I think the fact you can do that now gets rid of the storage issue, and just the quality of 4K on this is fantastic. So yeah, video, yes. Sound, no. You still need a proper mic, I think, if you're serious about this, because people will put up with, not great video, but they will not put up with crap sound. There's just no two ways about it. I hope this one sounds okay, by the way. I hope this it should do with the SM7B, but you never know. Hello, Mark Gilroy. Mark is has his own YouTube channel as well, so please do go and check him out. And Mark is saying, so the iPhone 15 Pro Max has already replaced my point-and-shoot camera, B-roll camera, the Sony ZV-1. Shooting in log/ProRes and being able to grade B-roll footage is a game changer. Yeah, I mean, that's just what I meant. I mean, you said it more succinctly there, but yeah, the fact that you can now record in that log color profile and color grade it to your heart's content very easily in post-production, I can see why you've made that change, especially from the ZV-1. That's a lovely little camera, but the iPhone 15 Pro Max will definitely beat that in terms of image quality and just the way that you can work with the footage afterwards, I think. Any Sony fans listening to that won't like that, but there you go. Gavin, hello, Gavin. Oh dear, my throat. What are your impressions of the Blackmagic video app for the phone? If you've looked at it, I haven't looked at it. No, I didn't know that existed. Is that a new thing? Have Blackmagic just released Is it an editing app? Is that what it is? If that's what it is, the thought of editing video on an iPhone has always frightened me to death. Editing on the iPad is interesting, as we know, getting there. But yeah, if that's what that is, I don't know. Let me know more. Yeah, give us a bit more info, please, Gavin. But I've not heard of it, and obviously not tried it either. Any other questions, guys? Just looking through the chat to see if I've missed anything. You always get me talking about gear. I'm always up for talking about gear and cameras and mics and things. It does absolutely get me excited. Gavin, here we go. So it's a video recording app. Apologies. That makes more sense. That is more interesting. No, I haven't. Still haven't tried it. I like the idea of that. I'm guessing it probably opens up a few more manual controls for the camera. If I get time, I'll check it out. Have you tried it? I mean, is it any good? I'd be interested to know. Your review of the Bose QC Ultra makes it a very tempting purchase if I wasn't so deep in the Apple ecosystem. New daily drivers. Yeah, they have turned into my new daily drivers in terms of earphones. What are they? Earbuds. That's the right phrase. They are brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. I do still like my over ears. I still love the Beats Studio Pro, although weirdly, the Beats Studio Pro have kind of turned into a pair of headphones that I'm using more and more for video production. So if I'm out on the road editing, which I have been quite a bit recently, I just use the Beats. I use the Beats Studio Pro, which people will not believe. And the reason I use those confidently is because my audio never really changes. I know the mics that I use like the back of my hands. I have presets for compression and everything else, so I'm not too fussed about that. As long as I can hear it, it's great, and the Beats work brilliantly for that. But the Bose the Bose Quiet Comfort Ultra earbuds are amazing. If you've not seen my review yet, please check it out. One very quick correction for that video, which I have just put into a pinned comment, is that they do not, this has turned into a marketer's reviews video, is that they don't have multi-point Bluetooth connectivity. I thought they did. That was a complete screw up on my part. Got it wrong. Lots of people have picked up on that in the comments, particularly because it's a sponsored video. And yeah, I got it wrong. So I've made a note of that. So if multi-point Bluetooth connectivity is important to you, they're not for you, basically. And they're certainly not for you if you are into the Apple ecosystem, like you say. So, but for me, they are absolutely stunning when it comes to noise cancelling. I can't get over how good they are. How's your new AirPods Pro? Where are they? They're not here. I haven't got anything next to me. They're they're great. Although I think possibly mine might have a bit of a fault. I was using them at the gym earlier to do some testing for that kind of stuff, and I'm fairly sure the left channel is quieter. I think there might be a problem, but apart from that, it's nice to have them back. But those both have kind of taken their place. They really have. Gavin's still talking about the Blackmagic app, so it's very cool and opens lots of options up, and it's free. Nice. I will check it out at some point, Gavin. Absolutely. Alan, me again. Do you have any tips for getting the best sound out of the Shure SM7B in post? I already have the Cloud Lifter and Scarlett 2i2. Yeah, so the Cloud Lifter, if you don't know, I won't try and disturb it. I won't disturb everything over here, but the Cloud Lifter is how you get the gain from the app. So you plug this into a Cloud Lifter, that raises the volume of it, basically. That's a terrible explanation, but that's what it does. So it means that you can hear it when you plug it into your audio interface. As long as you've got that, there's not much you need to do with the SM7B, to be honest, Alan. It's got a very distinctive sound, which people like. It's very pleasing to the ear. It's got a lot of body. Because of that, you might want to roll off the bottom end a little bit. Some people do find it a little bit too big. I'm trying to think what I do with it on the 8 or 16 podcast. Again, because I've created a preset for that. Not much. I think I just add a little bit of compression just to even things out a little bit. Maybe a little bit. No, I don't even EQ it. I don't think. I quite like the EQ on the natural EQ on this mic. I wouldn't do much with it. Just be careful with it. Just give it a little bit of compression to even things out. I wouldn't touch it too much. I have a suspicion that most people who use this mic don't EQ it at all. Don't do anything with it. They just record it and put it straight out there, and it sounds great. It's why you see these everywhere. And there's a new version, I think, which has just been released this week, which is I hope I got this right, the SM7DB, I think, which has a built-in preamp. So in theory, you don't need much else apart from a cable into your audio interface. So that could be worth checking out as well. Any other questions I've missed here? Let's have a look. So Michael is using LumaFusion on the iPhone. Wow, that's brave, Michael. It's more me than anything than the premise of editing on the iPhone. It's definitely my problem rather than than actually doing it. But I just personally, it's just too small. I can't imagine. I'm sure it works well, but I just can't imagine using my phone for that. I'm glad it's working for you, genuinely. Have I missed any other questions? Have we got any more before we crack on with our weekends nearly? Trying to think if there's anything else I need to update you on. Probably not. It's there's lots coming up in terms of reviews on the reviews channel, obviously, but there's lots of things going to be happening on the Solo Club channel as well. So because the Academy is, if you missed at the start, the Academy is, there's big news coming very soon, basically. But because of that, I'm going to be upping the content production for this channel. So we'll be getting back to podcasts, videos that are outside of these live streams as well. All of that stuff is coming back, I promise. I do have a team working on it as well. So Michael says, so this is about LumaFusion. So in fairness, it's only for shorts, which is quite quick to edit. Yeah, that's, I suppose for short form editing, it probably works quite well. And to be fair, short form editing should be quick, and it should be something you can do on your phone, because you don't need to spend much time on them. Chop it up, get your edits in, publish it, done. You don't need to polish it too much at all, really. That's good to hear. Maybe I should do some editing on my iPhone at some point. Give it a go. Right, guys, I think if we're there, I can't see any other questions coming in. I'll give you another couple of minutes just in case you've got any. While you're doing that, while you're having a think, again, just a very quick plug for the Substack newsletter list. So if you haven't signed up to that yet, the link is below. You'll hear more. You'll find out all about the Academy once that's available as well via that newsletter. But it is, I love writing that newsletter. It's one of my favorite things that I do each week because it's quite cathartic. So to paint the picture, every Friday morning, I sit at my coffee table at home and I write the Substack newsletter. And sometimes I've got a plan for it. Sometimes earlier in the week, I'll have thought, that's a great topic for Friday's newsletter. Sometimes I just wake up and think, that's the topic. Something happened that morning, or the evening before, the day before. So it's very much like I say, a bit of a monologue, a bit of almost like a journal, which I share with you guys. So yeah, if you want to check that out, it's free. You can unsubscribe if you ever need to. It's down below. No need to apologise. Do you enjoy the travel elements of YouTube? Appreciate it must be hard with the little one, plus the the lost luggage. The luggage has returned. So the luggage returned 2 weeks ago now, but it was 2 weeks and 1 day late. So I didn't have that luggage for over 2 weeks. We are going through the claims process now, so we're hoping to get some damages back and also get some money back for all the pants that I had to buy. Underpants, and I bought other stuff as well, but way too much information. Do I enjoy the travel elements? Yeah, I love them, but they're not as glamorous as they may look, as you can probably imagine. A good example of this is I'm going to Vegas in January for CES. Booked the flights yesterday. I need to get the hotel booked. And I know, just from having spoken to people who have done CES on a few occasions or in the past, I'm not expecting. I mean, Vegas. I love Vegas. I've been before. I think it's an amazing place. But I know both from my experience doing other overseas stuff for this business and having spoken to people who have been to Vegas for CES, I know it's going to be incredibly hard work, incredibly tiring, very overwhelming, and a very, very important thing to do. But there's a bit of trepidation there because of that, even though I am excited about it. So, yeah, it's a mixture of enjoyment and very, very hard work. The IFA, a few weeks ago in Berlin, for getting the luggage thing was incredibly hard work and way too long away from my family, as you can allude to there. But I love the little travel thing, little pieces of travel that I do. So going to London yesterday and the day, spending 2 days in London. One part of that was for an event. So I went to an event for Garmin, the watch people, which was very nice. But I spent the rest of the time in London filming the video that goes out on Sunday. And I again, it's incredibly hard work and a bit stressful, and you're running around doing things and hoping you've got everything filmed. But again, I wouldn't swap it for the world, really. And the Peak District, the video that went out today, and the other video that I made while I was out there, which was the iPad video from a week or so ago. Loved it, absolutely loved it. But equally, I love getting home as well. Callum's here. Callum's in the building. Evening, Callum. You're a bit late. I'll let you off. Callum is playing a big role. I'm sure he won't mind me saying this. In fact, he definitely won't mind me saying this. A big role in the academy. I did say academy then. That came out wrong. The academy. I'm getting to the stage now where I need to stop talking, I think. But yeah, Callum is one of the people behind the scenes working on the new academy. Callum, I don't know if you were here earlier, unless you've been sitting there quietly watching. I have given people a bit of a teaser, but nothing. I haven't shown them anything yet. But yeah, more detail on the way soon. Thanks for coming on, Callum. Darren, thank you for another insightful video, Mark. So much information to digest on a Friday afternoon. Hopefully not too much information. Hopefully not. I kind of finish these live streams sometimes and just think, I've waffled on for ages. Did any of that make sense? I think last week's in particular was a little bit incoherent, so apologies for that. But I was very tired then, so I'm blaming myself. Yeah, I'm absolutely blaming myself for that. But yeah, hopefully it's been good. I appreciate that. No problem, Callum. Don't worry. Alan, I'm back and watching at last. You've started your YouTube channel. Amazing, Alan. What is it? Give us a link. Put a link in the chat, please, Alan. Give us a little overview of what you're doing as well, because I love that. I love it when people come on here and say they've started a YouTube channel. It's the whole point of doing these live streams. I want to help you guys get going as well. And also, Alan, have you got any? What are your, before we finish? What are your first experiences? What have they been like in terms of being a YouTuber, which is absolutely what you are now? How have you found these very, very early days? Let us know quickly in the chat. So Alan, you've learned a lot from these sessions. God, it's always worrying when people say they've I do this stuff because I love sharing things. I hope I can help people do what I'm doing. But there is that worry that when people say, oh yeah, I've taken on board everything you've said, and you think, I hope I've got that right. I hope what I'm talking about does make sense and does. Hopefully it works because it's working for me, but you just never know, do you? Scripting is difficult. It is, yeah. I mean, again, it depends how you're scripting. If you're scripting specifically for video. So if you're sitting there and just scripting a video and then using that as a script and then nothing else, then I think that is quite hard. What I would do, and this is something that I've always done, is rather than write a script, write a blog post. So start every video as a blog post. So you go blog post, video, short form. That's the kind of 3-step process. And if you treat the script as a blog post, you'll enjoy writing it more, I can guarantee. And you've got another piece of content that is on your website, on Medium, maybe not Medium, on Substack, wherever you put it. You've got another piece of content, which is, double bubble, as they call it, and a great way to repurpose stuff. And you can then just turn that blog post into a script. And all I do is take that blog post and bullet point out all of the different sections and just riff from that. I don't tend to read them verbatim unless there's certain sections where I need to read them verbatim, like specs and that sort of thing, or maybe the intro needs to be a bit more structured. Everything else, I just very quickly read through the bullet point, turn to the camera and talk. And then the editing does the rest of it. You cut out the waffle and away you go. Lots of questions coming through now from Alan, which is cool. Speaking to the lens rather than the screen, the Sony A7C. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I see what you mean. So, yeah, you're finding that tricky. So, yeah, I'm doing that now. Actually, I'm looking at my MacBook rather than the lens. So, yeah, when you first start doing YouTube, and I still do this sometimes, although I tend to edit it out, hopefully cleverly, is that rather than talking like this to the lens, as we should do, because that looks like I'm looking at you, you do this. You're talking and you're looking at yourself in the little monitor to the right hand side of the camera. And what you do is you do that, and then you realize you're doing it, so you quickly switch back to the lens. But then your eyes keep drifting to looking at yourself, and partly because you want to make sure you're in frame. You want to make sure you're not like this, which you wouldn't be, or your head's too far up or whatever. But it's a very common thing, and I tell you what is always very reassuring. Marques Brownlee, MKBHD, who's the king of tech videos and quality tech videos, he still does this occasionally. You watch him, he doesn't do this, he does that because the monitor is above normally. He does that quite a bit. So even the best do it, but yeah, that's tricky. So you're using DaVinci Resolve, which I've used a little bit on the iPad. Glad you're learning a lot with that. Sound levels, yeah, that's always a good laugh, isn't it? The only thing I'd say about sound levels is record fairly low, so you've got lots of headroom, and don't let things peak too much. Don't look for signs of peaking and bring it all down. And all the things that you have to do for YouTube, which is loads, Alan, more than any of us realise, and certainly more than I ever realised. And I did talk about this a bit earlier in the when I was talking about hiring my right-hand man, which is the whole point of this video. He's doing a lot of that stuff now. But when I was putting together the processes for this, it's unbelievable how many things are involved. I think a lot of people, and me included originally, think that these videos are just made, edited and thrown onto YouTube. There's a lot more to it than that. And you've started, so it's a technical channel relevant to Salesforce. Great. I mean, that must be, I'm guessing, I don't know, but I'm guessing that is a significant audience and a very, very specific audience. And I would also guess quite a passionate audience as well. So in all those things together, a very good audience. So best of luck, Alan. I hope it works. Paul says he talks to the screen all the time. I do. I find it quite hard on these live streams, actually, because my setup here is the camera here, obviously. And then just below the camera out of shot is my MacBook, which I can quickly show you without disconnecting everything. That was worrying. I do find myself looking at the screen too much and but it's a bit different on a live stream. I think when you're doing a roll for a proper video, doing that all the time is a bit irritating for the audience. But if you've done this before, you'll know that it's not quite as simple as that. So if you get any trolls telling you that you look ridiculous doing it, ignore them, because they probably haven't ever done it themselves. Jaspal, rather. Terrible with names, sorry. Ali Abdal says everyone has an unfair advantage. He does. You do think you've had an unfair advantage with your YouTube success by using aspects from your former job, e.g. perhaps marketing video. Yeah, I think that is definitely my unfair advantage. I've thought about that quite a lot. There were two things, really. There were the fact that I had experience in a lot of different fields, so marketing, sales, video production, audio production, presenting to a degree as well. I've done a lot of podcasting stuff in the past. So I didn't come into this without, and writing as well, massive thing with writing. So I didn't come into this completely cold on all those fronts. And a lot of people do. They start a YouTube channel without any experience doing anything either in front or behind the camera. And I'm glad I didn't have to learn all that, because that is a very hard thing to get your head around. So that was definitely my unfair advantage. The other thing was gear. I had gear. I had a decent camera. I had decent mics. I knew how to use them. So they were definitely my unfair advantage. Is an interesting term. I know what Ali means by that. It's a bit of an unfair term, though, ironically as well, because an unfair advantage sometimes might be, you might be born into it potentially, which you can't help, but it's just a great thing for yourself. But normally unfair advantages come from hard work elsewhere. So all those things that I just talked about didn't just appear. They came from incredibly hard work and investment as well. But yeah, you're right. That was definitely my unfair advantage. And Alan is also starting an advanced driving channel soon. You're a busy man, Alan. The question is for you, really. How do you do all this? I'd love to see your advanced driving channel. I think you've mentioned that before. I seem to remember that. So you're waiting for an action cam to start recording in the car. Exciting times. Like I say, very busy man. Best of luck with it, Alan. Guys, I am going to sign off now because I know I was talking earlier about the importance. I might as well sign off straight away because I've lost the ability to talk. I was talking earlier about the importance of family and all that stuff, and I do need to get back home now and spend some time with my son. Let me answer this question very quickly first. When are you moving back to the 14-inch M2, potentially M3? Come on, Mark, we know you want to. Whenever the M3 comes out, I will go for I think I'll go for the 14-inch. I've talked a lot about this on the reviews channel. The 16-inch, which is this one in front of me, is a lovely laptop, but it's just massive. So I'm waiting for the M3 to arrive. I'll make the final decision, which I think has to be the 14-inch because I've talked about it so much. Then we don't know when that's going to be. I think it's going to be next year at some stage, so we'll see. Thank you, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in if you have live, and if you're watching this in the future, equally, thank you. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, I've done this for an hour and 6 minutes now. I haven't once mentioned subscribing to this channel. That's absolutely terrible of me. But yeah, if you haven't subscribed yet, give it a subscribe. Check out the Substack Substack newsletter below. And yeah, we'll do this all again next week. Again, come on with questions and I'll have a think about what we can talk about next week. So I'm going to do that thing now where I end the stream and pretend to walk over there. But what I actually do is hover around there a bit, looking a bit strange, and then poke my head back around to make sure the live stream has ended. One day that will not have ended. I'll poke my head around and you'll all still be there. And it'll all be a bit embarrassing. So we'll all look forward to that day, won't we? Anyway, guys, enjoy your weekend and I'll see you next week. Cheers.